All right, all right, all right. Hey, it is 3 o'clock, a little bit after 3 o'clock Central Standard Time. So y'all know what time it is. It is time for another episode of Book Talk Live. I'm your host, Sugar Ray Destin Jr. I'm the founder of the Business of Books Mastermind Program. And today we are joined by a very, very, very special guest, one of our own editors, as well as a best-selling author. We had her relaunch yesterday, and she is now a number one best-selling author, Miss Elizabeth Bernice. How are you today?
I am pretty amazing. How are you?
Oh, I'm good. I can't complain. I'm enjoying enjoying life as should be.
That's good.
Yeah. So I wanna let give you a little bit of time to introduce yourself to the people. Let them know who you are in your words.
Well, like you said, I'm Elizabeth Bernice. I am a strong woman of God, and I am I would say I'm a phenomenal mother. I have I have times and situations where they struggle, but overall, I would say I'm doing a pretty good job. Otherwise, like you said, I'm an editor with BOBM. I also am a CEO of my own company, Speak Out, um, and a motivational speaker. And what else do I have? All these hats I have, and an author. Man, best selling author. I don't even know what to say. When I saw that on Amazon, I just stared at it, and I just in unbelief that I came this far. So it's an emotional, exciting journey.
There we go. I can see the emotion in you. You having somebody over there cutting onions already. We just getting
Yeah,
started. We just
I
getting
know,
started.
I know, I know. I
Yeah.
try
So
to.
yeah. So when you say you've come a long way, a lot of people don't really know your story, right? They see Elizabeth, they see the smile, they see the focus, they see you now, but they don't have. Most people don't have a clue of the things that you've been through. So you want to share a little bit, tell the people about your story, like what what makes you so emotional. Give them just a taste of who you are.
Well, I was molested at an early age, and due to that, sex just became normal. Just a normal part of life. I was sexually active, I think between the elementary and middle school. Had a sex addiction. Life just came very fast. At 13, I did get involved with church, and so it was always this church and battle, this church and battle with sex life, and for the most part, I hung on more to the sex part. Like I knew God was there, and I know He would help me out of things, and He was the creator. You know how magnificent and awesome He is. But I always had this sex thing with me, that I carry. You know, even till today. But back then it was worse. Like I said, I had an addiction. And I remember in my addiction, I was very silent, and I was labeled selective mute. You know, teachers, therapists said I would never speak out about my trauma, speak out about the abuse. You know, growing up in a single parent home, foster care, just the things that happened between there, being again, like I said, molested and raped, all within the home. And so here I am at in my 20s, and I'm trying to identify with who I am. Like what did God call me to do? Because again, I'm hanging on to God here, and I knew that I was more than sex. Like I knew there
Mhm.
was more. And I remember I was a bad because of my upbringing. I was a bad communicator, and so I
Mhm.
was very disrespectful. And I didn't care if I hurt your feelings. If you were a leader, if you're a little kid, I didn't care. Um, and I remember being dismissed from Bible college, and my pastor dad telling me, discipleship is when you dismiss someone from master's commission, but you know that there's greatness on them.
Mhm.
And I remember wanting to know what that greatness was. And when you sent me that text and said you're the best seller, and I was like, man, I'm living in that greatness that he said that I had, and so it's very overwhelming um, to be at this place and to know that like that little girl that people called nothing, said was nothing. I thought I was nothing. I was very shameful because I mean, people would know me as like the Bible girl or the Metro Kid lady, which was our sidewalk Sunday school program in the inner city, and they'll know me as that, or they knew me as this fast girl who was always in the bed and always doing this and had this guy, and so to come to this place to say that I'm an author and a best-selling author and a mother and a woman of God, like it's really overwhelming. And I didn't know I was gonna get this emotional,
Take your
but
time.
it's just overwhelming. Just the awesomeness of God.
Yeah, and that's powerful because there's always this duality that happens within us, but you've lived out that duality for the majority of your life, right? Um, and so has it how has the journey been for you? Because I'm pretty sure there's other people that have experienced something similar. The only difference is I think Betty Wright said it in an old song. Yeah, I'm going back to my old black music. She said, "Don't judge me." She said, "It's just that you know me and I don't know you." So they've been through something similar, and I've worked with kids, so I've seen it a lot in the kids who really have that passion and have that potential, but because nobody's ever really dug into what's going on with this kid, what is it that's going on at home. Yeah, you speak out differently, you're acting out, asking for attention, but most adults are numb to it because they're so busy in their own little world.
Mhm.
So how has the journey been for you? Has it been a lot of support along the way? Has it been easy? Tell us a little bit more about that, about your journey, because i'm,
So
I'm pretty sure it can help somebody else.
yeah, it wasn't easy at all, and more so it wasn't easy because, like I said, at 13 was like the peak of my abuse, and 13 was when I got saved, and
Mhm.
so in that moment, it's like I wanted to know more of who this God was, and it was confusing because this abuse was happening at the same time.
Yeah.
And so as I gotten older, and I actually remember like a moment where you're talking about where I'm in junior high school, we've been taken away from mom. I've had a 3.5 since freshman year. I'm now at a 2.0 and no one notices anything.
Mhm.
And I'm like, that's a shoot. Like, why isn't anyone noticing me? And at that point, I realized I have to be my own voice. Like someone, I have to be that person that speaks up for myself. So I need to ask for help. I just didn't know how to ask for help. And so
Yeah.
it came with the disrespectful talking. But then it took a couple who saw my heart instead of my words. And
Yeah.
because of that, they were able to help cultivate an environment for me to grow despite of what I did. And so from the age of 13 all the way until I got married, let's say it's 20, 25, 27, maybe around that age, is like they were all like I can still call them up right now, and cry out and be like, "Oh my god, my launch was so great." And they would be there and they would talk with me through it and pray with me through it. Um but it just takes one person to be involved in a child's life to make it still turn out right. And so I'm so
Say
glad
that.
that I had a couple that was able, like I said, to see my heart despite of everything else that was going on.
That's powerful. And like you said, that it only takes one, and oftentimes too many adults, and I've been guilty of it at different times, but too many adults say, have the I'm too busy in this moment. I'm too busy to give. If we look at mentorship, schools are always saying we need mentors, we need mentors. It takes 30 minutes a week. There's 168 hours in a week. 30 minutes can change a child's life. And it sounds like for you, you had those pastor parents that were there for you and that gave of themselves. What about those closer to you? How was that experience as you were going through all this?
Unfortunately, those closest to you, whether you are succeeding or not, they're not going to be there for you. Um, and I noticed that, like I said, on both. Well, originally when, um, because my mom and I always had this I don't know, this interesting relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And she kicked me out, but then she was threatening like the couple that they were kidnapping me. And so then I was like went back to clarify things. And so when at that point when I actually did run, my brother did come with me. So there's moments like that where like those close to me did help out, but like there's times later on that's like, oh no, you do your own thing. We're not going to be involved with that. Oh, and even coming out like you have a sex addiction. Oh no, don't tell nobody that. Don't tell anybody.
Yeah.
Or if I did go to people who knew the family, it was, oh well, don't tell so and so because you're going to hinder your sister's salvation or you're going to stop this person's growth. And I'm like, yo, I'm telling you, my deepest hurt and all you can focus on is how it's going to affect someone else. Like, but I'm telling you, I'm literally in front of you crying out for help. And so that hurts when, and those were usually like pastors, foster parents, so people that are like close to you that unfortunately had that response. And so again, it's knowing there's more inside of you.
Mm-hmm.
And again, and I love my pastor parents so much because they always gave me enough to make me feel like there's more.
Mm-hmm.
Elizabeth, there's more. And so I wanted to know what was it, even if they live 4 hours from me right now. We don't talk every day like we used to. And I still know that there's more.
There's still more, and I'm going to tell you, there's still more. Because we see it in you, the passion that you have. So now let's fast forward a little bit, because now you've been through the foster care system, you've been through the addiction, you've been through the abuse, physical and sexual abuse, and now here you stand as a woman of God, as a mother who is doing amazing things. Let's talk about some of the things that you're currently doing. What is it that you do now? Because I can see your shirt. It says speak. What's the rest of that?
Oh, speak out. That's the Psalms 107:2. That's the business business name in scripture. And so that's again, like I said, I was silent most of my I wasn't until I was in my 20s that I started speaking out. And so speaking out appropriately.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's embarrassing moments that I have recorded during a worship practice where I'm like straight up being disrespectful. Like it's embarrassing. And so it's not until my 20s where I was like, yo, I need to respect people. Like it's not their fault.
Yeah.
It's not their fault that I don't know how to articulate my pain, that no one knows about the pain. And so
Say that.
speaking, you said what?
I said say that.
Yeah, for sure. It's not anyone else's fault. So I had to take the responsibility and say, what can Elizabeth do? And so I got into Toastmasters to help me better articulate just in general. I used to mumble a lot. There's some words I still can't say. I slur. I used to slur some words. Sometimes I still mumble, but most of the time I try to speak clearly, articulate clearly. And so I got into Toastmasters to help me feel comfortable in speaking. Period. And from there, I learned a lot of tools that I'm able to now coach people one-on-one coaching, group coaching. I also do. I have a group that I'm doing coming out that talks about it's called Victorious Overcomers Academy, and it's talking about helping people through that emotional part of the abuse. Like you physically have survived it, and not allowing that emotional part to kill you. So let's deal with those emotions. Most people, I mean, for men, they say you don't have emotions at all, but for women, it's like you cry too much or you
Not
do,
true.
and so in some places. Um, and so it's just to embrace those emotions and respond appropriately to them, and then
Mm-hmm.
and to get over them and move on. Because usually we're like, oh, I'm sad, and we sit in the sadness for years. It becomes a depression. The depression paralyzes us, and then we're like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I'm still crying over something that happened to me 13. At 13, I'm 33 years old, and I don't know what to do with my life. Like, boo boo, you still have enough life left in you. Don't waste it because you physically got assaulted when you were 13. You still have so much life to live now at 33. Don't let the emotions this paralyze you and kill you. And so the academy is going to help people through that process of that. And then I kind of want to pause, and I feel like I left out a chunk of life because I want to talk about how I met you. And and I knew that my calling was my voice. That whether it was through a podcast, through a book, through online speaking, through a sermon, that I was going to use my voice. And when God called me to write a book, um, I did not know where to start. And I would ask people like who wrote books, like, "Hey, how did you?" And they kind of were like, "Oh, this is what I did." And I'm like, "Okay, cool." But there was no person. And I like relationship, and so I was like, so what person can I get into relationship with to help me with the book? And several people in our mutual group, Breathe University, were like Sugar Ray Destin. Like I think it was like 5 people who posted. And I'm like, all right, obviously Sugar Ray Destin, so I need to talk to you. And then I got in touch with you, and you and I have bumped heads a couple of ways through the process. However, becoming a published author was never something that I planned to do, but God definitely intended for it to happen. And the way that He had it happen and having it go through your program is just amazing because it's not just about a book. It's
Yeah.
so much more than that. Like you said, like it's the relationship, it's a business, becoming a bestseller. Like I never in my life thought that that would happen. And then knowing that my daughter is watching and she bugs you every time she gets and tells you she wants to be an author. And so I think what you're doing with the
We get her
business of
published
books,
soon.
right?
Yeah.
What you're doing with the business of books mastermind is beyond a book. It's so beyond a book, and it's really life changing. And so I thank you, and I always tell you whenever I get like I really appreciate you in your business and what it has done for my life. It's truly made me see things different. I've tapped into my gorilla, if you will, my execution and loyalty and just sticking to the grind. Even the way on our my daughter and I on our way up to the apartment, I was like, I'm gonna go to a call with Mr. Destin, and I said, but I'm not wasting time. This is how I grind. This is how I hustle, and this is how I work. And she goes, work, mom, work. So she's got it.
She's paying attention. Yeah. Well, I call that divine intervention because, and I've seen your journey from day one. Um, and what most people think is that it's easy, right? And I've heard this so many times. It's just going to be easy to get the book out, and there's a reason that so many people stop. But it's more about being willing to fight through those, like you said, those emotions. Because I remember when you first started working on your book, um, around chapter 1, you wouldn't talk to anybody. Chapter 2, you were coming out of your shell. Chapter 3, every morning when we have our calls, you would just full of tears because of the emotion that was behind it. But you speak from a place of truth, which is refreshing, right? And a lot of people, I've read some books by other authors, and it's just like they just threw some words together. But I can tell that you went back to that place where these events happen in your life. You went back to these scenes where things were uncomfortable, and because of that, I definitely say that there's going to be millions of lives changed as a result of the stuff that you've put into your books. But I want to talk more about what you're doing right now, right? Because this is your weekend, and I seriously mean that. Like yesterday you didn't launch, and let me make the correction. For most people launch and they're like, "Oh, I did it." No, you relaunched, right? Tell us about tell us, why was there a relaunch? What happened between that first year and this year that was different?
So it's so funny that you say that. I think last year I was still riding on the belief of others and not riding on the belief of myself.
Mhm.
And so, like I said, my pastor parents, you, I call them my coach parents, which are Patrick and Gwendolyn Pete. Um, God has put people in my life strategically at moments to carry me through to the next moment, and for that, I always believed in what they said of me. I believed in what you said of me. I believed you that you believed that I could put out a book, and I did. And the relaunching it was I'm believing that I can do it, and that this time I'm ready, and this time I know that I can do it. And so the engagements that'll come after this, the what whatever else that's gonna come out, I'm ready. I'm ready for it, and not just in word, but in body and spirit, in emotion. Like at where I'm at in my life, I'm ready. And so that's the difference between then and now. Is that, and so I think I spoke on everything I was doing right now. I am a for you. I do the accountability calls, which I love. I'm so thankful for that opportunity to do that with you. I also do. Man, I do a lot actually. So yeah, so I'm an editor. I do the accountability calls. I also am in this program called Preach Girl. Shout out to Chrissy Miranda. I love her. My mentor. Learning how to put together sermons. I learned this from Patrick Pete. It's just constantly mastering your craft. And
Mhm.
so being a part of you remind me of my pastor dad, because both of you guys are forever growing. And so I know that my craft is always going to be sharpened when I'm with the two of you. But then I also like, because I'm a spiritual person, then that I'm going to reach out, to that spiritual part of me. And so that preach girl really gets me like deep into the Bible and studying it full and really like making it a lifestyle. And so I love preach girl. And then from that I'm a sermon. And then my daughter is asking me a question. So we're gonna bank pause. Come on.
Bring on camera.
Say hi.
What the- Hey, come here.
How are you? Good. Where do you want some nachos? You can have some nachos, baby.
I can?
Yeah.
I tried to sneak in the
I know you were trying to sneak. It's okay.
Yeah. So
You're good.
while Elizabeth is talking to Camille, I just want to highlight some of the stuff that you're doing currently. Um, most people talk about how they're helping others, but every week you do things to help others. And what I love about your journey is that you're actually tapping into um you're tapping into multiple people, multiple coaches. Um, so I see somebody is spamming the live feed, and I appreciate the advertisements, but that's not what we're here for. So it will get deleted. And that's my first time ever seeing somebody do that. But you are constantly looking for opportunities to grow, but you're also looking for constant opportunities to share your growth with others. And so every Wednesday, you do a live talk on Facebook. Tell us a little bit about that
Yeah.
and what got you started there. Go ahead.
So that's my Why Me Wednesday, and it's just like what you said, just giving back. My thing is that I feel like I am a treasure, right?
Mhm.
And once this treasure leaves the earth, um, what I mean, everything that's in me is gonna come with me, right? But if I put that knowledge out to people, like I feel like there's a 13-year-old girl being molested by her stepdad and feeling like she's the only one, and I
Mhm.
get on every Wednesday to let her know, boo boo, you're not the only one. There's probably a young girl, maybe in her teens or her 20s, who's struggling in a toxic relationship. And so I tell her, boo boo, let them go. Focus on you. Do your own thing. And so why me is just encouraging women through what I went through. And for me, it was just a lack of knowledge. From 15 to I want to say 27 probably. I thought I was the only woman who struggled with pornography. I was the only woman who struggled with masturbation. I was the only woman who struggled with sex, and I wasn't. They just don't want to speak out about it. And luckily, I'm the one that God gave the very lovely opportunity to speak out about such things, and I do it in such a way that it's not. I mean, I try to do it funny because abuse is a hard subject. Toxic relationships are a hard subject, so I try to bring some humor. I try to bring all of my personality into it. So it's not so much that it's like, oh, we're talking about abuse today. Oh my god. I say boo boo. I bring my daughter on. My daughter prays sometimes at the end. And so I try to make it this fun because again, like I said, is your abuse is not who you are. But you don't know that if you don't know anything outside of your abuse. And so it's just shedding that light again that you don't have to live there. And so it's like open that curtain and see the world that's outside of that window.
Exactly. And that's powerful that you're doing that, because like you said, so many people suffer in silence, right? And people wear this mask, and outside of the mask is like, hey, how's everybody doing? What's going on? And then go behind curtains and it's like, man, I'm just hurting on the inside. So it's powerful that you are actually giving of yourself, so that women and even some men know that it's not just you, and your past doesn't define your future.
Yes.
One of my favorite memes, is they say, if you're still judging me based on who you knew me as in the past, then we don't even need to talk. That I'm paraphrasing it, but that's who you're becoming. And I salute you for the woman that you're becoming, because you're so transparent, you're so open, you are so, even at your book signing, at your relaunch, there were some moments when the guys were red, just blushing, because you speak from a place of truth that only that a woman speaking to another woman has that power to be able to speak and say, yo, this is how it really is. Whereas other women, put on this, I'm this, I'm that, and they're hiding. So I salute that honesty and that transparency. So when tell people how they can follow that feed, because we definitely know that even though they may not say it, they may want to sit behind the screen and watch so that they can also get that healing.
Yeah, so I do Facebook Live, so every Wednesday, so it'll be on Facebook. And it's Elizabeth Bernice with two E's at the end. I try to make it as easy as I could, but Elizabeth is like the top 10 name forever. So, and apparently Bernice is too. So that's what it is. Elizabeth Bernice, for Facebook and for Instagram is the same.
Okay. So they can follow you there. Now,
Correct.
this community that you are launching, because you're on a launch mission, right?
Oh
I
yes, yes,
I
yes.
pretty much see you as a rocket these days, because right now you're just launching into that next level that you were meant for, and just getting started. Tell us about the Victorious Overcomers Academy.
So it's interesting as you're saying that. I think the reason why it's such a time as this that this needs to be launched is because there's people who haven't left their house and they're stuck in it with their abuser.
Mm,
And even if it's not with their physical abuser being there, it's the thought of their abuser being there. So then they're stuck in their thoughts of the abuse, of the abuser. Am I good enough? Am I not good? And they're fighting every day, and they're just stuck in the four walls of their house, thinking of that. And so opening up this membership group, this monthly membership group, will help people come into a non-judgmental family, if you will, and to be able to share those experiences. I mean, and they can share it, amongst the group in a post, maybe just in DMs or whatever, but it's that place that they may able to come and just let it out, and not be, again, judged by it. No one's going to call you down by it or whatever, like look at you different or anything. And so it's just that safe place. And then, like I said, and not just to leave you, because I've been a part of groups that's like, okay, I just threw up on you of everything that I'm going through, and then that's it.
Mm-hmm. No support.
There's no support at all. So, or there's, that's, girl, I know how you feel. Okay, cool. What else? Like, let's get over it. And so I think that's what my group separates from the others, is like, okay, here are some tools to put into your tool belt when you're at home and you're like, oh my God, I can't stop thinking about him, and I know I don't want to be with him. How do I stay off that? Or what if he comes knocking on my door in the middle of the night and slips a letter under my door and tries to guilt me into, going back with him? That did not happen last night at all, but but anyway.
That just happened.
Anyway.
So it is definitely something that is needed. So are you going to, when you say that there's support, there's the community, you call it an academy. So is there education to go along with it? Like what's the academy?
Yeah, so there's a whole curriculum that I have that's together. And so the whole thing is about embracing victory. So most times as abusers, we're okay with sharing our abuse. We get to a point where we're okay with sharing our abuse. We'll get to the point where we're surviving, we're thriving. But it's so much more to say, I'm embracing that I'm no longer that. And so the curriculum is centered around, again, like I said, giving you tools that when you go into life that you're not triggered, that when you're faced with things you're not triggered, you can go home for a holiday and not be triggered. And so it's really giving you those tools to help you stand strong in those moments where you're most vulnerable and those moments where you're most weak. And so it's just to help you. So there's a whole curriculum around building you up as a person to stand strong in who you are. It's all about everything that all the tools that we have to be what we were purposed to be is already inside of us. So all I'm doing, my curriculum is just pulling it out and helping you accept and embrace that's who you are.
Yeah, embracing the power. And I remember when you were hashing out the terms for what you wanted to call it, and you were like a community of survivors, or a community of like abused. What gave you the exact, like, what made you go with victorious overcomers? That, because that sounds a lot different than survivor. Tell me about that one.
Because it's living, like I said, it's living beyond just okay, I got my story, like I'm abused, I got my story out, I know the statistics, I know all that stuff, but I need to live in my day-to-day life. Like, what if I don't want to be a mom today because I'm in my feelings because I have a flashback of my abuse, but I'm a single parent and I have to deal with my child? What am I going to do? Or I'm a co-parent and I have to deal with my my ex every week, twice a week. How can I confront them, him or her, and still be sane? And so, like, it's giving them those tools, but also just that that it's all about that. Like, it goes back to my pastor parents, and when my pastor mom said, she's a quiet giant, and I'm writing a chapter right now for another book, and as I'm writing, I'm remembering a point where I stopped going to church. And since the time I was 13, I was always in church. And so there's a time that I wasn't going, and my pastor dad didn't say anything, but my pastor mom, oh my God, she chewed me out, and then she said, "If you are not there, I'm going to shoot you." And for some reason, I believed her, and I was like, I made sure I was in service. I would wave at her like, I'm here, got it, But
she gave you ultimate accountability.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
But because they were so loving in such a harsh time,
Mm-hmm.
I also think of TD Jakes and Sarah Jakes is that when she was in her books, when she was at her moments, like when she was 13 and she got pregnant, and when she was a waitress in a strip club, is that her parents were the ones who said, I'm gonna come and lovingly come around you, and we're gonna take care of you. We're gonna make sure this. And then when she was ready, the story came out. T.D. Jakes could have talked about sermons upon sermons about his daughter. This and that. He said, "No, this is not my story to tell." When she's ready, and then they've been with her like so. So those experiences are like these women, and I know how it is to not have family. I mean, like I'm a foster kid, to not have like someone to call family. And so to have that family feel, that sisterhood, that camaraderie, you know what I mean? Just that like love, you know? And so every woman has a heart that they have shoved down because they don't feel like they're worthy enough of experience what's inside of it. And so that family feel is to let them become comfortable with who they are, so they may be able to open up and say, you know what, my heart's ready to love again. And whether that's love themselves again, love another person, or like a significant other or whatever, but this to help them become free in who they are is the ultimate thing, is to be whole.
I can see your passion, and a few of the others that are watching. Destiny said, "This is so good." Rizwan, Rashid said, "Your story is powerful and passion. Your passion is contagious." And Robert Moore told everybody, get yourself a copy of her book, and I highly recommend getting a copy of her book as well. It is a phenomenal book. Let's transition a little bit and talk about your book. Some of the things that you actually covered, the G-rated version of your book, because when I tell you all, I personally went back through this book to look and make sure that everything was adding up in terms of like tense and in terms of the assisted editing. And there's some power in the things. You'll laugh, you'll cry, you'll want to fight. So if you and I'll let her explain a little bit more about why I say those different emotions.
So the book I wanted to focus on because I felt like it's huge to talk about the battle between your relationship with God and your relationship with like your sinful nature. And so I wanted to paint the picture of that clearly throughout the whole thing. And so I started from when when I was 3 years old when that molestation happened, and I kind of walked through that whole process of God being with me through the whole thing. Someone had asked me one time, "What would you be if you were if you were a mom?" And so my daughter was born at a time I was married when I had her, and she was born at a time where I was still kind of confused about the sex thing in life. Because I was married, I thought that could be free in sex, and that was not the case. He would tell me, "Put clothes back on. I don't want to see. I don't want to see that." And so I got confused about sex because church said, "Wait till you get married, right? And it's X, Y, and Z. It'll be so much fun and all this other jazz." And it wasn't. And so she was born in the middle of like us in that like that love that we had at that time. I was going somewhere and I lost it. What was your question? I'm sorry.
And then
we're talking about the book.
Yeah.
The what?
I said, and then she was born in the middle of love and that confusion at the same time.
Right. At that same time. And so when she was born, I knew that I had to get together who I was as a woman in order to build her into the woman that God created her to be. So I had to become that woman. And so becoming that woman for her was hard. I had to face a lot of things I didn't want to face. And so the book was really, again, that journey of shedding off the sinful nature and allowing God to take control. Because in my daughter's life, I want God to lead and be the leader of her her life and the center of her life. And so I was creating that separation. But again, like I said, starting from the molestation that grew into the sex addiction, or the sex abuse, the sex addiction, and then the toxic relationship, unfortunately, with her dad, and then ending with the purity and the love, of one, waiting, and two, of being in a relationship with God. And so right now, that's my focus. Like I said, I do have lovely men that still knock on the door and try to get a piece of this, but but I'm trying to keep it as G-rated as I can. I'm sorry. But
As
but
y'all can tell, the book is real and it's raw and it is truly authentic. So
yes, definitely.
that's the
Um,
keep going.
no, that's it. Because I mean, I'm trying not to be so specific because I don't want to, one, get away the book, and two, it is a lot. Like going through foster care, I experienced one of my leaders who committed suicide. There was a lot of and all this stuff I kept silent, which is why the book is called No Longer Silent. Is that I don't think until I wrote the book that I ever told anyone about that teacher passing away.
Mhm.
And it was the same time we were getting taken away. Mom was in the hospital, and so like all these things were happening all at the same time. And so just to write it out was a release for me as well. Going through those process, and you talked about like how I was on the call, and different chapters brought out different parts of me. I remember sitting in the parking lot of a Dollar Tree. I don't know if you guys have Dollar Trees in Texas, but
Oh, we got them.
and I'm hysterically
All kinds of Dollar
crying.
Trees.
I'm so through with you. I'm hysterically crying because I can't write this hour chapter. And I sat there, and I'm not kidding, for 4 hours, and I cried, and I cried. But that crying gave me that release in order to write the chapter. And so and I believe that was chapter 3 or 4. Yeah, that time was really hard. But yeah, every chapter came from my heart. Definitely was real. There's a chapter I literally talk about a whole science part of intimacy.
And you do go into that.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
But I do it to bring knowledge, because that's the thing that I was talking in that chapter. I'm talking about is that I lack the knowledge of that information, and so because of that, I went into my marriage assuming this is what sex was supposed to be, and it was not.
Yeah. Well, now it sounds like you are definitely on the other side of healing. And that's major, because I've worked with so many people, and the one thing about people who have been through dramatic or traumatic situations in their life is that they don't necessarily, or they haven't went through that healing for themselves. And so since they haven't went through that healing for themselves, you said it earlier, they place the aggressor on people that are in their lives, that are there to genuinely help. They don't know how to receive that help. And I do want to make a correction. Not all abusers are men. So
that's definitely true. Definitely. Yeah, because it's funny you say that, because in the beginning, and I feel like I do stress this in my chapter, I think the divorce, either the speak out chapter or the divorce chapter, one of those chapters, I stressed that my mom was the aggressor. And so because of that, in my marriage, I felt like I had to be aggressive as well. And so I do start off where I'm like, I'm mean and I'm saying this and that, and my whole head is shaking.
Anime.
Our little patting our head and who are you talking about? I know you ain't talking to me. Yeah, that whole thing. But then later on, I grew to know like that's not how you have a relationship. And in the end, my ex-husband in tears was like, I love everything you're doing for me. I just don't want to be with you. And so at the end, I knew that I did all that I could do. I started as the aggressor, but 5 years in, I was no longer that aggressor anymore. I did everything that I could to make sure that I didn't repeat that legacy with mom. And even now, I'm still not repeating. I would say I'm one of the only in my family on my mother's side that the father is still involved in the child's life. And so this is the thing I share too, is that God made him her father for a reason. So it was easy for me to say, give me full custody. He this, he that. We'll throw him on a bus. Blah, 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 blah. And even though he did it to me, like we could have been tit for tat. But no, God made him her dad for a reason. And although we do not get along all the time, I make it clear to her, I love you. Your daddy loves you, but I don't have to like him, and that's okay. And that is okay.
That's called maturity and co-parenting.
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes,
it can be difficult. We'll leave it
yes,
right
yes.
there. We'll leave that right there. But listen, I want everything that you have shared is powerful. I want to open it up for a few minutes for questions,
Yes.
and I actually have a few copies of your book. So can we do a giveaway? 10 of the ebooks.
Yes.
So for anybody that comments book, um, we actually have 10 copies of her ebook to give away. So if you would like to get a copy of her book, maybe your money's sitting funny, your funds is low, your pocket's connecting and not in the right way, then we can get you a copy of that book so you can read it for yourself and see how amazing and how powerful her story truly truly is. So just go ahead and in the comments leave the comment book, and you'll have that in your inbox shortly. um the other thing is, how do people get in contact with you? How do they follow you? How do they connect with your community? Do you prefer them to get the ebook, or do you want them to get that autographed copy of the book from you?
Um, I definitely suggest both. You can definitely gift as we're gifting out the ebook today. You can also do the physical copy again where you get the autograph. Right now, it is discounted until Monday, which is tomorrow. Discounted at $15. My days are just like so close, so I just had to remind myself what today was. So it will be $15. After that, I'll go up to back to the 20. And they can get that on my website. That's Elizabeth Bernice, one E at the end.com. Like I said, my social media handles are Elizabeth Bernice, two E's at the end, for both Instagram and Facebook.
Okay, gotcha. And what about the community? How do they get into the Victorious Overcomers Academy? Because I know there's some
Um,
women out there, just just knowing my timeline, there's women in that are watching that definitely need to connect with you to get, maybe they're not comfortable going to a counselor, maybe not they're not comfortable sharing with family, with friends, but they need that community. So how do they connect with your community?
so I would certainly join me on Facebook. It's not launched quite yet. We're launching it in September. So definitely to keep up on those announcements, would to be following me on Facebook.
Okay, definitely. So y'all heard it here. Miss Elizabeth Bernice, best-selling author, not just best-selling, number one best-selling author. She's been through the storm, the rain, the pain, the happiness, and now, as you can see, there's a genuine smile that is on her face, as she pours into, as she helps others, and as she continues to walk in her purpose. So I say I salute you and congratulations. It has been a pleasure. Um, I got one last giveaway, and this is just, I know that we're in different times um, with this pandemic, so everybody's money is not right. But what we do every week is a $25 Cash App giveaway. So if you are watching and you need that $25 Cash App giveaway, the first person that comments cash, you got a $25 Cash App that will be in your account. It is 3:55 Central Time. By 5 o'clock Central Standard Time, you'll have $25 extra. It can be for gas. It can be for, you can use it to go in and purchase a physical copy of Elizabeth's book, but it's free money. So first person that comments cash gets that Cash App giveaway. And I'm still waiting on those people who are looking to get a copy of the book. Just comment book. But right now we're doing that Cash App giveaway. You have anything that you want to share with everybody? Maybe some motivation or something.
I think what I would say, lastly, is super cliche, but be you. All the good, the bad, like the ugly, the loud, the obnoxious. Like, be you. There's no one like you. No one. There's not going to be another you. There's only one you put here, and if you are not you, then we're going to miss out on a great treasure that God has gifted this earth, and we don't want to miss out on that. There's so many books that's inside of you. Mr. Destin's here to help you through that. If you need to overcome something, I'm here to help you through that. Like just don't hide. Just come out and just be you. Like this, whatever it is. I feel like that's really heavy on my heart. Is people hiding from their authentic. Help me out here.
Authentic.
Yes, their authentic selves, and so yeah, that would be my last word. Is just be you. Again, like I said, it's super cliche, but it's truth. Just be you.
Yeah, there's no greater release and no greater emancipation
My
than
God,
being
yeah.
your authentic self. So,
Yes.
absolutely. Look, I don't see anybody that wants the $25 Cash App
Well,
giveaway.
can I have it? I mean, can I post cash
If
in
you
the?
if you put it in the comments, we might
Can
be
I
able
just come? Comment?
to.
Can we just real quick? I mean,
Yeah.
I'm just playing.
But listen, it has been a pleasure. I guess they let me off the hook this week. Um, I'll pick someone at random. Looks like Carolyn put cash. And with that being said, we'll go ahead and gift Carolyn the $25 Cash App giveaway. For those of you who are watching, as you heard, this young lady is powerful. She has went through the storms, the rain, and is now in a position where she is pouring into and she is helping others. Her name is Elizabeth Bernice. And y'all keep your eyes open, because when I tell you that she is in that launch phase, a year from now, she's going to be completely different. She's completely different and from where she was a year ago. That growth is pure. That growth is natural. And we love you guys, and we will see you next week. Y'all have a good one.
Bye.